Hi there, I'm Logan Queen with the Jennifer Queen team and RE/MAX Professionals Real Estate in Winnipeg. Today I'd like to give a little bit of information to anybody who may be purchasing a home, and that information has to do with typical costs you may not expect when you're buying a house. I think that most of us can agree that when you're buying a home, you're expected to pay a mortgage, likely property taxes, and a few other small things. But there may be some items behind the scenes that you don't realize you should be preparing for when you make that purchase. Depending on the amount of money you've saved up for a down payment, you may or may not require mortgage insurance on that mortgage. The ones you may have heard of are CMHC or Genworth. But the thing you really need to know is that if you are not putting 20% down on your purchase, you will require mortgage insurance. Now, this is something we deal with in Winnipeg all the time because the majority of our properties are underneath $1 million to purchase. However, if you are somewhere else in Canada, this still applies to you. But if you are over $1 million for your purchase price, there is no chance to have mortgage insurance, which means that you have to have a minimum of 20% for your down payment. Now, if you are getting mortgage insurance, there is two different ways to pay it. You can either pay it as a lump sum upfront when you purchase your property, which covers you for the mortgage, or you get it tacked on to your mortgage and it increases your payments per month. It is best to speak with your lender or broker about what the plan is for your mortgage and how this may or may not affect your monthly costs going down the line for your purchase. Home insurance coverage is another cost to factor in. Home insurance is required for any home that has a mortgage on it. As your mortgage is registered to title, every lender will require that you have insurance in place to cover for the event of a loss on that property. You should also know that this insurance needs to be in place and prepared for the day you meet with your lawyers to sign your mortgage documents, to sign the paperwork to finalize your purchase, because they need to know that there is insurance in place to cover that mortgage. Home insurance costs can vary significantly depending on the property. If you have something like some very large outbuildings, a pool, fenced yard, there's lots of reasons why your insurance will be a different value to other homes. However, it's pretty standard for the average home in Winnipeg to look somewhere between $1,000 to $2,000 per year for your insurance on the home. Land transfer tax. Now, this won't apply to everyone in Canada. However, here in Manitoba, we do have land transfer tax. This land transfer tax is based through the land title system in Manitoba and is only required to be paid by the purchaser of a home. Land transfer tax goes in a rising scale, and from 0 to 200,000, there are different scales of percentage for purchases within that range. However, anything above $200,000 gets taxed at a 2% rate. I typically tell my purchasers to plan for about a 2% land transfer tax for any purchase, just so that they have that money in hand, and it typically covers them for anything from 0 all the way up to $1 million plus. So in Manitoba, property tax is either registered to the city you live in or the municipality that runs the location. So within Winnipeg, we obviously have Winnipeg municipal city taxes. However, you may find other rural municipalities where you share with multiple different small towns or areas that are within a specific rural municipality. In Winnipeg, your taxes can either be paid in a lump sum or on a program that goes month to month, and they call this the TIP program. Depending on the way the previous owner paid for their taxes will depend on how much tax you need to pay at the time you purchase your house. Now, that doesn't change what the municipality tax is. However, if the previous owners have already paid the whole year's tax and you purchase the home halfway through the tax season, you may be required to reimburse them for that other portion of the taxes. This is something that gets handled through the lawyer's offices before closing of the property, and you make sure that all the taxes are paid and nothing is in arrears when there's a transfer of hands. In Winnipeg, realtors have access to the tax data for the municipality, and in that way we can tell you what the gross tax amount is for the previous year. Now, it's not always up to date depending on what time of the year you are purchasing your home, but it will give you a much more accurate guideline, I'll say, for what you will need to pay for the year. If you are purchasing a home in rural areas around Winnipeg that don't have available tax information, you may want to request the tax info from the sellers before you make any plans for what that cost is going to be, just so you know exactly what you need to budget for. Lawyer's fees. Yes, there are lawyer's fees required for a lawyer to help you purchase a home and handle the file and all the background documentation that's required to have the home registered to you. Some of these items are title searches, title insurance, and also just making sure that all the tax information and everything that needs to be done in order to hand that property over to you free and clear gets done without headaches. The fees for lawyers' costs are typically in the $1,500 to $2,000 range. However, if you are concerned about what that cost is going to be, I would recommend calling up a lawyer's office that you would like to use and talking to them about their fee structure before you take them on to help you with your purchase. Some additional costs you may run into, but are not necessarily part of every purchase, are ones that I'm going to go through now. One of those could be a locksmith. Yes, you will typically get a new key from the vendors when you purchase a home. However, they're really only required to allow you access to a property. I've seen multiple times where it's a door code or there's a different way to access the home that isn't actually a key. So you may want to hire a locksmith yourself to come in and get your keys rekeyed, set up so that you have new keys for the home you're in. Hiring a locksmith to rekey your doors is not considerably expensive and maybe something that gives you an additional peace of mind. A locksmith that we regularly work with is about $100 for a set of keys for one door. Now, you can obviously pay for more doors and you can pay for more keys, but really it's not that expensive to do this change, and it might be something you find really worthwhile. Furniture costs. Many people do not realize how much furniture they want to put in a place until they get into that place. And if you don't have furniture that necessarily fits the place that you are buying, you may decide after you purchase the house that you need a new couch or you need new chairs and new end tables or whatever it ends up being. You happen to have an amount of money sitting at the side. Sometimes people just want a change of look when they move into a new property. So one thing to think about is what could those furniture costs be? Furniture is not cheap these days. You will find it very difficult to find a nice couch for under $1,000. And if that's one piece of furniture, it adds up really quickly. The last real thing I want to talk about is really unforeseen issues. Just like anything that's purchased used, a house is a used commodity. There can be things that may go wrong once you purchase the home. That doesn't necessarily mean it's on the old owners or it's something that anybody did wrong, but hot water tanks break down, appliances don't last forever, things will happen, and sometimes they happen quickly and not when you expect them to. I really think it's a good idea to have at least a few $1,000s sitting away in an account when you purchase a house, just in case. If your sewer lines back up and you need somebody like Roto-Rooter to come through to clean them out, that's something that you may not have expected and a cost that you may not have money on hand for. There's all sorts of reasons and all sorts of things that you will find when you're getting used to a new property. I would say make sure you have yourself a little nest egg on the side to make sure that these little headaches don't become major headaches. Now, this may not be every conceivable cost when purchasing a home. However, I do believe that there are a few things in there that people don't necessarily think of when they start their home buying process. And if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. My name is Logan Queen with the Jennifer Queen team and RE/MAX Professionals Real Estate in Winnipeg. And if you have any questions about what you saw here or anything to do with additional costs or costs when purchasing, or even just any information that you want on purchasing or prepping for purchasing a home in Winnipeg or surrounding areas, feel free to reach out. We're always just a call, click, or text away. Have a great day.